seen over £6 million pumped in the NHS. Unfortunately, on the frontline nurses, we've seen none of it. We've got managers looking after managers who look after the computers in order to meet the targets. And somewhere down that long line, there's us battling to provide high-quality healthcare for these patients while doing a marvellous job, might I add. What's happened to bring the patient first? We need to get back to the basics of nursing. So we forget a little bit about the targets and the computers. And nurse the patient and not the targets.
I've got nothing but admiration for the NHS, but sometimes we put you in a difficult position where the demand for the health services is right. I think 10 years ago there was 12 million people every year used accident and emergency, and it's now 18 million.
18? 250 patients a day.
Yeah, so 12 million to 18 million, a 50% rise.
Within 4 hours.
Yeah, and there are, I know it doesn't seem this way, but there are 80,000 more nurses than when we came in 10 years ago. 80,000, and I know that's a big figure, but there's 20,000, 25,000 more doctors. Look, the problems of the health service, I accept, are you go around the country and people are worried about the time that nurses and others can spend with the patients. They're worried, and we've got to do something more about hygiene and about MRSA. They're worried about the time that people have to spend and just talk to the patients about all the sort of things that are happening. I think people want us to value the staff more. I think people are worried about the access to the GP, and sometimes the GP is not there at weekends when they need them. So I think all these things we've got to look at.
Yeah, my brother contracted MRSA 4 years ago when he went into hospital for just a routine leg operation, and he's been left currently disabled by that. Since this has happened, MRSA has been quite a big issue in the media. Will your government take the advice of the Health Protection Agency and reduce bed occupancy to a safe level in an attempt to increase patient safety and reduce hospital-acquired infection?
MRSA, the numbers of people hit by MRSA has been going down, but it's a huge issue, and I understand also with the other potential medical problems that arise in hospitals that we've got to do more about it. And what I've been trying to look at is what's happening in other countries and how we can learn from that. It's also persuading people outside the hospital that because the disease is brought in from outside the hospital, that people can do more about it. But it's also, of course, improving the standards of cleanliness and the standards of care in the health service itself. And you as a nurse know all about it, the precautions that now people are being asked to take.
Professor Alan Walker, who is an expert on pensioners' issues, has stated that 1 million pensioners have died knowing only poverty since you came to power. You must have realised that means testing just does not work. Will you now change your mind on this abhorrent system?
We are changing our policy. We're going to link pensions again to earnings in the coming Parliament. So the first thing we had to do when we came in 1997, and I feel very strongly about this because I saw it myself in my own constituency, was deal with particularly the problem of widows in their 70s and 80s where their husbands or their partners have left no occupational pension and they had almost no savings. Some people got £40 a week more as a result of the pension credit. Now if we'd given £40 to every pensioner over 60, we couldn't have afforded it. But we got that money to these people who were the poorest of pensioners, mainly widows, mainly women obviously, people who had been denied the chance of inheriting or having any savings, to be able to. So that was the first thing. I just say to you, if we hadn't done that, there would have been far more people in poverty. But then what we wanted to do was to say, look, every pensioner should get a better deal. So we introduced the winter allowance, right? It's £200. Free TV licences over 75. We've now introduced free bus travel for all pensioners. And we've tried to do more about getting local authority services better for pensioners. And then we say to every prospective pensioner, in the past, if you've read in the Mirror, if your company went bust and your pension fund went bankrupt, you lost your pension. And that's what happened to 120,000 people in the last period. Now we're saying anybody who is saved for the pension cannot be destroyed if the company goes bust and the pension fund goes. And so we've introduced what's called the Pension Protection Board, where anybody who's got a pension, they pay an insurance policy, the company pays the insurance policy, so that no matter what happens to your company, you will have a pension in future.
The Iraq war started when I was back in sixth form doing my A-levels, and on Friday, by the end of this week, I'm going to be graduating, and still the war's going on. Is this war ever going to end? And if so, when and how exactly?
Well, it has been a divisive issue. We've got to recognise that, and there are issues and lessons that we've got to learn. But when the war started, we had 44,000 troops there. In the next few days, we'll be down to 5,000. So we've gone from 44,000 to 5,000. I think sometimes people don't know that we are bringing down the numbers of people, and we're responsible for 4 provinces in Iraq, and 3 of them have now been moved back to the control of the Iraqis themselves. So they do the policing and they do the security, and our army is only there in an overwatch. And then the last province will be returned to the Iraqis for their security and their police to be managed themselves quite soon. So we're trying to get them help to get jobs and to get improvements in their living standards, building sort of schools and improving their healthcare centres, getting water, getting the sort of the infrastructure sorted out so that they can actually, as people, have a stake in the future. Because potentially Iraq's a very rich country with all its oil, but so many people are unemployed at the moment. So that's what we're trying to do.
If I was to say that the United States and the UK invaded Iraq for the oil, would that be a true statement?
No, I don't think that's correct at all, because basically what happened was Saddam Hussein had invaded Kuwait, and then he was under all the international obligations to take action in Iraq. And for more than 10 years, he refused to obey the international community. And he kept saying that he would do things and never did them, kept promising to do things and never did them. And remember, he was the person that invaded Kuwait and was responsible for the treatment of the Kurds. And that is something that we shouldn't forget, that Iraq is now, for all its difficulties, a democracy where the people of Iraq have elected the government, not obviously Saddam Hussein.
In 2 days' time, you're going to be the Prime Minister. Are you nervous?
It's a real challenge. You get up in the morning knowing that you've got to do your best, and although I've done the job of Chancellor for 10 years now, it's a big difference, and I just want people to know that I will do my best. I'll do as much and as well as I can, and obviously the only purpose of doing this job is to help make the country a better place. I think we've got a great country here. Britain works best when Britain works together, and I think that's the sort of message that I want to convey. So I'll get up in the morning on Thursday or on Wednesday and still try my best.